And good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever, whenever you're listening. This is your patriot come lately, Stefan, British by birth, American by choice, welcoming you to episode 201. That's right, 201. I'm into the third century. And of course, for those of you that are thinking, the third century, that's a long time ago. No, I mean, I'm into the third century of my shows, yes. We've done 200, we've done the first 2 centuries, the first 200, and now we're into the third 100 of my shows, which coincidentally is also the start of my 5th year. So how time flies when you're having fun. I hope you're all enjoying this new site that we're broadcasting from, and of course I am coming again from north of the border. It seems like the cold weather, though, has spread to the US and has got quite far south, and I think lots of problems quite far in the south of the United States, all the way down to Atlanta. I was hearing stories of all sorts of chaos in and around Georgia. Let's see, Birmingham International Airport is closed, as well as numerous regional airports. Houston, I was there, just about a month ago, 6 weeks ago, on a project. They're expecting that the offices might be closed today due to the cold snap. Well, I have no sympathy for the South, I'm afraid. North of the border here, the winter has been unusually brutal, especially here in Toronto. It's not normally that cold here, but it's been very cold, and tons of snow. Over the last 3 weeks, we've probably had 2 to 3 foot of snow, and other than one day when the airport had some problems, little or no chaos on the roads. Anyway, on with the show, folks. Tonight I will not discuss the State of the Union address, and I've promised that in all my invitations. Why not? Well, based on King Barry's record of lying pretty much every time he opens his mouth, I'm not going to waste my time on an analysis of what he says. The few times that he does tell the truth, he is telling us that he will utilize unconstitutional actions to force his Marxist ideology on us. So I will leave the discussions to others more learned than myself. I'm sure I'll come back to some of their findings at some time in the near future, and I will discuss what others think, but for tonight I promise you no SOTU, except for this oldie but goodie. Around this time of year, there are 2 well-noted occasions, Groundhog Day and the State of the Union address. One involves a meaningless ritual with an animal of little or no intelligence pretending to be able to foretell the future. The other involves a groundhog. Okay, folks. And now on to the news and views of the day. Well, first of all, what I do want to bring forward is more Chicago politics coming out of D.C. Some of this you've probably heard about, but as I say before, the objective of this show is to educate people, is to give people information. If you know about it, great. Keep spreading the message. If you don't know about it, then listen, learn, go out, do your research. I've done as much research as I can on this, as far as I can make out. All of this is true, but you do your own research and then go out and spread the message. So, with everything else going on, more and more of the Chicago thuggery approach is coming to light. We know that, and we've seen lots of examples of the IRS, DOJ, and other departments being used to intimidate more and more people. The latest examples are the political persecution of the former Virginia governor, Robert F. McDonald, and, of course, the conservative filmmaker Dinesh D'Souza for alleged and comparatively minor infractions. Matt Drudge responded to D'Souza's arrest by tweeting that Attorney General Eric Holder was unleashing the dogs on Obama's most prominent critics. And in actual fact, it's not just that. You also have Wayne Allen Root, who was a classmate, supposedly, of Obama when he was at Columbia, who's also been a very vocal opponent and critic of the president, and he has also had 2 sequential audits. He just had one. It was proven nothing was wrong with his audit. They actually took the IRS to court on that, and 2 days after that one was finished, another one was unleashed on him. So you see, this regime is really trying to intimidate its opponents. Gerald Moeller, who's D'Souza's co-producer, says, in light of the recent events and the way the IRS has been used to stifle dissent, this arrest should send shivers down the spines of all freedom-loving Americans. And it does send shivers down my spine too. When American citizens begin to suspect that people are being arrested for alleged minor violations because of their vocal dissent against their elected representatives or rulers, it breeds disrespect and contempt for the law and suspicion of those officials. If this unfortunate action against Dinesh is intended to deter the release of his upcoming film, America, that effort will fail. And of course the question is this indeed to deter the release of his upcoming film or punishment for his past film? Remember, he also had that highly critical movie that was very successful on Obama. Radio host Laura Ingraham has warned that the administration was criminalizing political dissent in the USA. Welcome to the brave new world of retribution justice. Rush responded by warning the Obama White House was trying to criminalize as many Republicans and conservatives as they can. Of course, this is all in preparation as well for 2014, so they can point the fingers and say what bad guys the conservatives and Republicans are. And it's not just at that level, at the state level. The conservative activist group, Project Veritas, which you know is the one that exposed Acorn and a number of other interesting actions that they took around that. They're being targeted by the New York governor, Andrew Cuomo, you know, the one who wants anti-gays, anti-right to life and Second Amendment supporters to leave New York, and which they're beginning to do in droves. Project Veritas, which is, of course, James O'Keefe, said, we've got a subpoena over the last week from the Board of Labor, and they're asking for every single financial transaction over the last 3 years, O'Keefe told a radio show. I'd be happy to cooperate, but there's some funny business going on, especially when there's so much corruption in the state of New York, and they're going after my organization and compelling me to give them every transaction, added O'Keefe, lamenting he would probably have to follow Sean Hannity in leaving New York altogether. So all these 3 instances of conservatives being targeted in just the last week alone, after last year's scandals, of course, where the IRS targeted conservative and Tea Party groups and now is trying to codify that targeting in new rules that they're publishing. And on top of that, so there's those 3, but the IRS has also more recently been accused of targeting Hollywood conservatives by demanding to know all of the names of members of the Friends of Abe organization. The Friends of Abe organization is a conservative group in Hollywood. Yeah, I know that sounds like an oxymoron, but it's the Friends of Abe organization. It's about 1,500 members that get together in Hollywood. There are a few very prominent leaders that are known, but most of the 1,500 want to stay beneath the radar. And they have fairly strict rules about not bringing cameras and camera phones to their meetings because they do want to keep themselves secret. Unfortunately, for Hollywood, they have to do that. And now the IRS is demanding to know all of the names of all of the members. To what end? What difference does it make, right? At this point, what difference does it make? Sorry about that, had to put that in. And then I did mention Wayne Allen Root. That started about a year ago, and that was even before we knew about the Tea Party intimidation. So here you are, the regime is using their instruments of power to intimidate their opponents, which is not the American way. But then again, we know this. Unfortunately, this particular president is not American, whatever you may say. Okay, so while we're talking about the IRS, why can't they just do their job? Instead of harassing all these conservative groups, how about chasing up tax deadbeats? How about Warren Buffett? Right, his companies owe millions of dollars, and there's at least a couple of $1 million, don't know the exact number, that's owed by government workers in DC who are also not paying their taxes. Why do they get a free pass and all the conservatives don't? Well, we know why, but, we have to ask that rhetorical question. Why the NSA should be stopped? And I hope you like this new little interlude I have between the different topics. I want to use this when I have shows where I jump from topic to topic. So let me know if you like it. You know where the email is, and I'll play that shortly. Just a reminder. But anyway, first of all, why the NSA should be stopped. Been a lot of discussions around the NSA recently, and about the problems, the issues of all the data being collected, and most of the people that are for it, and there are some, let's say, people on the right-hand side of the aisle that say, no, we've got to collect this data because it's being used for anti-terrorist purposes, and it is only used for terrorist purposes, right? It's stored, huge, great databases, and then if that information is needed, the government can go to the FISA court and request that information be extracted from those databases. So it's not as if people are looking in there on a regular basis. Now, ordinarily, it would be reasonable to assume that. And we would expect to trust the government to use the data for the purpose for which it was intended. In other words, store it on the database. When you have a terrorist-type situation and you need to look up and find out who a certain person is contacting, then you go and look at the metadata. Right? This is the information about the phone call, not necessarily the phone call itself. Ordinarily, you'd say that seems reasonable. It's for our safety. However, this regime has proven that they can't be trusted. Look at the IRS. Look at the DOJ. Look at the EPA. They're all being used to intimidate its opponents. Do you not think that they'd also use the NSA and data collected by the NSA and probably even phone calls collected by the NSA to intimidate political opponents and people they want to do things? I have to say, for example, why did John Roberts all of a sudden, when the Obama curse was up in front of the Supreme Court, seem to overnight change his opinion on Obama curse, saying, well, it's a tax, therefore it is constitutional? Did he have something that they found via the NSA intercepts? So if we can't trust them with the IRS, the DOJ, etc., why should we trust the government with the NSA data? Well, on to something a lot happier. Happy birthday, Tea Party. Yes, we were talking about the Tea Party being intimidated or trying to be intimidated by the IRS, but there is also some good news about the Tea Party. On Thursday, 27th of next month, that's February the 27th, the Tea Party movement will celebrate its 5th birthday. Now, in those 5 years, the Tea Party movement has made significant progress. The 2010 landslide election showed that the American people are tired of being let down by spend-happy politicians in Washington. Last year, during the budget battle, we also learned that when we are united, we can actually accomplish great things, like forcing Congress to listen to the people and to stand up to King Barry. But there's still a lot of work to be done. America still has serious challenges in the form of Obamacare, immigration reform, and the runaway spending is still there. So on February the 27th, Tea Party patriots are gathering in Washington at the Hyatt Capitol Hill to celebrate the 5th anniversary, reflect on past successes, and get ready preparing the path forward for the 2014 and 2016 elections. Jenny Beth Martin, who's Tea Party Patriots co-founder, and other liberty-loving Americans, including Senator Mike Lee, a real Tea Party stalwart, Representative Louis Gohmert from Texas, another Tea Party stalwart, and Representative Steve King from Iowa, also very Tea Party oriented and very conservative. They will be speaking and trying to encourage people to continue the fight for limited government and fiscal responsibility. If you're interested in that, you can go to www.teapartypatriots.org/5-year anniversary and find out more about that meeting. It is a Thursday, so for many of us that have a normal job, difficult to go there, but hopefully if you have the time and the money and you can support, we need to show Washington that the Tea Party is not dead, and we really want them to listen to us. Okay, folks, I said a little bit earlier on, if you have comments about the questions, you have comments about these new interludes I have between subjects, please do let me know, and the way to let me know is this way.
Like to comment on any of the topics discussed on the show, please email me via stephen@patriotcomelately.us or go to the show's website www.patriotcomelately.us and click on the contact button. You can also write your comment on the show's Facebook page. Just search for Patriot Come Lately Talk Show in Facebook.
So, as that little jingle said, do send me an email. I do love to hear from you. Like I said, if you have comments about the new sound effects between topics, the audio quality of this show, if you've got questions, comments, suggestions for topics you'd like to see in a future show, or even suggestions for a guest, I'd love to hear from you. Let me know. And any questions I get, I will try and answer directly in email. If you don't hear from me, maybe it's gone to my spam, do try again. But I will answer you via email, and of course the interesting ones will end up on the show as well. For those of you that are just coming to the new site, and it is a little different to the site that we had at Blog Talk Radio, but there is a chat room there. So if you look for the chat room symbol, click on that. You can open a chat window, and you can also send me comments, questions via the chat window. It's difficult to see right now if there are people listening live, unfortunately. That's one disadvantage of this new site, but we'll get used to it, find out after the show who was there. But otherwise, use the chat room to let me know you're there. I would love to hear from you. Well, we're getting close up to the first commercial break. So, folks, as I like to say, time to pay the rent. And please stick with me. I'll be back with more news and views after these messages.
Are you at least 62 years old like me? Could you use an extra $50,000, $100,000 or more to live a better life? Then please consider the benefits a reverse mortgage can provide to you. With a reverse mortgage, you can have your mortgage payments stopped altogether and get equity out of your home to live on. And you can use the money to help you live a better life. How nice would that be, not to have a mortgage payment? Qualifying for a reverse mortgage is simple, since there are no income, asset, employment, or credit requirements. However, you must be 62 years or older, own your home outright, or have a very low balance on the mortgage, and be prepared to live in it throughout the rest of the loan. Call now for more information.
800-704-1662. 800-704-1662. 800-704-1662. That's 800-704-1662.
I will never forget the day my son Jeremy told me he hated me and slammed the door in my face. I'm behavioral therapist Janet Lehman. Behavior problems can turn the child you love and your life into a nightmare. That's why my husband James and I created the Total Transformation, the step-by-step program that shows you how to fix the worst behavior problems and get your child to respect and listen to you again. No matter what the behavior, defiance, backtalk, angry outbursts, disrespect, we can help you stop it. Now you can get the Total Transformation for free. All you need to do is get the program and let us know how it works for you. You can keep it forever for free.
Limited number of free programs available. Call now. 1-800-259-1409. 1-800-259-1409. 1-800-259-1409. That's 1-800-259-1409.
This is Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio, coming to you live via the internet, via rebroadcast on WRSDB, the Red State Talk Radio Network, or from the recordings at archives.patrickcomelately.us.
And thank you for sticking with me through that break. We're going to go on with some more news and views here on episode 201 of the Patrick Come Lately Show. Thank you for joining me, whether you're listening live, whether you're listening to the recordings or the rebroadcasts on Red State Talk Radio. And I do have to give a shout out to Red State Talk Radio, the probably the premier conservative talk show network on the internet. This last month we had a record month. Primo, the owner, let all the hosts know that he has had more than 50,000 hours of listeners for the first time. And also, I think it was last weekend, we got an email that on the Saturday we'd broken the all-time record for one day. Immediately followed next day by another email saying the Sunday afterwards, the day after, the record had got broken yet again. So things are going gangbusters here at Red State Talk Radio, and I'm proud to be part of that group. Okay, more news and views. And the good news is there are some very visible signs of Obamacare's effect on voters. And this is why regressives, or specifically Democrats, are worried. In Florida, one of the first polls shows that Obamacare is sinking the Sink campaign. Alex Sink, who ran against Scott in the gubernatorial election, about 4 years ago, was now running in the Pinellas County special election to fill the late Bill Young's U.S. House seat. And there is the person that won the GOP primary, David Jolly, little known in that part of the world. Alex Sink is quite a well-known name because, of course, she got her face all over the place when she was running against Scott in the gubernatorial election. So David Jolly is little known, and yet he is 4 points over Alex Sink in the most recent polling that's been done by a company called stpetepoll.org. They surveyed about 1,300 registered voters in the specific district, and that's about 10 days ago, a bit over 10 days ago, which is the day after Jolly won the GOP primary. So, as we said, very little name recognition still, because this was voters across the board, margin of plus minus 2.7%, 4 points up. That means it's beyond the margin of error. That means the Democrats are running scared. And despite Sink's clear name recognition advantage, the great equalizer was the candidate's position on the Affordable Care Act, aka Obama curse. Apparently, 68% of the respondents to the poll actually said that Obama curse would influence how they vote. Of those, nearly 2/3 supported repealing or replacing the new law. The rest want it left alone. 2/3? Wow, that's a lot. The finding reflects wider disapproval shown in a Real Clear Politics average of 6 national surveys, where President Obama's signature legislation is suffering a 15-point favorability deficit. And most recently, the Gallup reported that the president's own approval rating has gone down to 39%. So not good, and at least for him, for us, very good, because that's exactly what we want. Okay. So, next topic. Another example, or examples, of regressive hypocrisy. Now, we know that one of the talking points that the regressives have been pushing over the last few weeks, and it seems to be something they will probably try to use in the 2014 elections, is raising the minimum wage in 2014. 30 states have put forward bills to increase it, and Democrats seem to have made this issue part of their political strategy for this year. However, a new study from the Employment Policies Institute has exposed the proponents of raising the minimum wage are very hypocritical. It seems that 96% of Democrats who support such measures, and these are Democrats in D.C., don't actually pay their interns. So they're saying there should be a minimum wage, yet they don't pay their own interns anything. The summary of the EPI study noted that the same members of Congress who are supporting a 40% wage hike on private sector employers are simultaneously failing to provide any wages at all to their own employee interns. Well, there you are. I mean, what else can you expect from the left? They are hypocrites, and they've always been hypocrites. The right further went on to say that he'd written for Newsbusters about how the media rails about the gender wage gap. So there's another topic that the Democrats try to inject into the discussion. Yes, the war on women. The Republicans are against paying women a fair wage, but it does turn out, and it is still true, that King Barry's White House pays their female staffers 88% of what their males make. So the average female is making much less than a male. Washington Free Beacon reporter Andrew Stiles said that the female members of the Senate Democratic Caucus are some of the worst offenders concerning the gender wage gap. Patty Murray's staff, if you look at them and compare females to males, the females make about $21,000 less per year than male staffers. That's a difference of 33.8%. Dianne Feinstein. Women also make about $21,000 less than men, but the percentage difference was even higher, 41%. How about that? Even Boxer. Her female staffers make $5,000 less. That is a difference of 7% only. So she's not as bad as the others. But that's just totally unacceptable, but it's typical regressive hypocrisy. Okay, folks, I'm afraid it's time for the next commercial break. Stick with me, and we'll be into the second half of the show after these messages.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-865-5017. That's 1-800-865-5017. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-865-5017 for details.
Why spend more than you have to on your life insurance? Did you know that term life insurance rates have fallen over 60% in the last 15 years? At the Life Insurance Quote Line, we monitor the rates, features, and financial strength of hundreds of life insurance products. For example, a healthy 40-year-old can protect his family with $500,000 of 10-year level term for less than $20 a month. Rates for women are even lower. And don't forget to ask us about the new term life policies that guarantee your money back even if you don't die. Since 1986, we've helped tens of thousands of people just like you save a fortune on their life insurance. Why not find out how much you can save? Write down this number and call today for your free quote. 1 5-minute call is all it takes. Call 800-915-9734. 800-915-9734. That's 800-915-9734. Rates, policy forms, and availability vary by state.
This is Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio, coming to you live via the internet, via rebroadcast on WRSDB, the Red State Talk Radio Network, or from the recordings at archives.patrickcomelately.us.
And thank you for sticking with me through that break. This is Stefan, your Patrick Come Lately. We're into the second half of the show. And just a reminder, if you do want to email me questions, comments, then please send them to stefan@patrickcomelately.us. That's stefan@patrickcomelately, one word, .us. And I love to hear from my listeners. If you're listening live, do try and find out where the button for the chat room is and put your questions and comments in the chat room. Can try and answer them immediately on the show that way as well. Okay, next topic in this week's News and Views. And this was an interview that Baghdad J, or otherwise known as Jay Carney, right, press secretary for the White House, saying that Obamacare is worth it even if the Democrats lose the Senate. But they won't, he says. Yes, well, I wonder. I think they will. The question is, how badly? Anyway, a few days before today's State of the Union address, the Jay Carney, or Baghdad J as I like to call him, told ABC News that passing and implementing the president's signature healthcare law is worth any political consequences, including losing the democratically controlled Senate to the Republicans. This is not about politics. So the answer is, it is absolutely worth it, no matter what happens politically. Carney said, when asked about the possibility of losing the Senate during an interview at the White House for ABC's This Week. I disagree that Republicans are going to have a winning issue on this if they decide to run on it, because they've got to explain what repeal means. Yes, and we're coming up with the ideas. We're going to present those ideas, and you are going to get your you-know-what whooped. Believe it. Now, that same ABC, right, not the most right-wing of companies, that same ABC News released a poll that they had commissioned together with the Washington Post, or as Mark Levin likes to call it, the Washington Compost, so also not one that's known for its right-wing leanings. That poll found that 59% of Americans disapproved of the way that Obamacare has been implemented. So that ranges from it shouldn't be there to it was a total mess-up. Carney was asked by ABC News how the president could be an effective leader when the ABC News Washington Post poll showed that only 37% of the country thinks the president has the ability to make the right decisions for the country. Only 30% think he can make the right decisions. Folks, this is proving things. This actually is the worst president we have ever had, and if not ever, definitely in this and the last century. So in the last 100 years, this is definitely the worst president we've ever had. Carney, Baghdad J, acknowledges the botched rollout of healthcare.gov, but also placed blame on the GOP for shutting down the government last fall. Okay, so they messed up healthcare.gov because the GOP shut down the government? Well, folks, I'm just speechless at that. During the interview, Carney also outlined the president's vision for 2014, and this, folks, is where it gets scary, which Obama has revealed to the country in today's State of the Union, I am sure, because, as I said, I'm not listening. I know it's going to be full of lies, and where it's not lies, it's going to be telling us how he's going to be acting unconstitutionally. And we get a little bit of an inkling of that because Carney said the president sees this as a year of action, to work with Congress where he can and to bypass Congress where necessary. Folks, if that doesn't scare the you-know-what out of you, I don't know what will. To lift folks who want to come into the middle class. No, actually what he's doing, he's depressing the middle class to meet the people who can't make it into the middle class. That's the truth of what he's doing. Carney actually said in the interview, we're actually optimistic that 2014 will be the year that Congress delivers to the president's desk a bipartisan, comprehensive immigration reform bill that meets the principles he laid out and that he can sign into law. Well, you know what comprehensive is the regressives' code word for. That's a 40,000-page bill that nobody's read and has all sorts of hidden things in that nobody knows about. Well, folks, hopefully not. Keep your fingers crossed. Small bills, yes, and of course my speech last week promised small bills. I'll never be present, but hopefully it would be nice if our friends in Washington on the right-hand side of the aisle would take that up. Small bills only. Okay, folks, on to the next topic. And just to kind of go back to my stump speech that I gave last week in the 200th episode. And as I said, I know I can't run for president, but I can still have ideas about how the GOP should be preparing for the election. So this section of the show, just a few words about what I think they should be doing. Now, we've noticed that the GOP establishment seems to think that playing it nice gets votes. You have to be nice to everybody. We have to beat the Big Ten. Everybody has to be in there. Don't upset the apple cart. Don't upset the boat. Don't rock the boat. Just be very nice. And if we're nice and gentlemanly, everybody will love us and will get the votes. Because if we're not like that, we're going to scare off the independents because they don't want conflict. Well, let's look in the 2012 election, in the primaries. Look at the leaders, the people that, when they were doing the GOP primaries, who would come forward each time. Bachmann was up ahead at one time. Gingrich, Trump, they all surged. And why did they surge? Because they stood up against the left and the GOP establishment and the mainstream media. They stood up. They created conflict. And when they did that, they were popular. The conservatives supported them. Of course, as soon as they stuck their head up above all the other candidates, that prompted a full frontal assault from the lackey press, which then brought them down. But I don't understand that the GOP and their elitist advisors don't see that shows the mood of the voters and the voters that will vote for conservatives. When the GOP establishment pushes forward a candidate that's less than contentious, the LSM is still going to be attacking, but worse still, the conservative voters stay away. Let's face it, Mitt lost not just because King Barry was able to mobilize enough of his supporters, but remember, it was significantly less than in the previous election, but also because Mitt was not able to rally the conservative base. A lot of conservatives stayed home and didn't come out and vote for Mitt. That's why Mitt lost. That's why we're stuck with this monster in the White House for another 4 years. Well, now, luckily, it's about another 3 years. But still, that's because we had this wishy-washy Mitt. And the only time Mitt really surged in the polls was that first debate when, what was he? He was fighting. He came out and he really showed it to Obama. And Obama kind of reeled on the ropes, and that's when Mitt surged, because people don't want someone who's wishy-washy and is going to play nice with the other side. We want someone who's going to stand up to the other side. And the sooner the GOP realizes that, the better. Okay. America's favorite sheriff does it again. Yes, Sheriff Joe is up to his usual tricks, and I applaud him for them. He has decided that inmates who defaced American flags will be given only bread and water for a week. The flags were small flags that were placed in cells in November in a patriotism campaign by the sheriff. He said a number of inmates, not all of them, but some of them, tore them down, wrote on them, stepped on them, threw them in the toilet, trash, or things like that. He said it was a disgrace. And so those people are going to be given for a week only bread and water to eat as a punishment. And by the way, another thing, as part of that patriotism campaign by the sheriff, the Star-Spangled Banner is played over the jail intercom every morning and every evening. Every morning and every evening they hear God Bless America. Good for you, Sheriff Joe, at least someone who's proud of our country. Okay, the next topic will have to break into a couple of halves because I've seen another break coming up. Let's get started on this. There is an institute out there called the Investigative Project on Terrorism, and this is a report written by somebody from that group, Stephen Emerson, and he writes for IPT News. The IPT have garnered records through a Freedom of Information request confirming that the State Department cleared the way for a visiting delegation of Muslim Brotherhood officials to enter the country without undergoing routine inspection by U.S. Customs and Border Protection agents. I think I mentioned this last week, a bit more detail here. This was in April 2012. It came before the Muslim Brotherhood's candidate was elected Egypt's president. So you can't really say they had anything to do with the president. Although they do say the Brotherhood's Freedom and Justice Party had won a plurality of seats in parliamentary elections. So they were kind of the largest group there. However, the expedited entry, which is known as port courtesy, is normally reserved only for high-ranking visiting government officials and dignitaries. Okay. We'll continue with this, folks, after the break. Like I said, there is time for the last commercial break, and I will be back for the final segment of the show after these messages.
Are you paying too much for your car insurance policy? Have you shopped your current plan in the last year? If you haven't, then you probably are paying too much. You could save up to 40% on your current car insurance coverage just by making a free call right now. Doesn't it make good sense to pay less for something you have to pay for anyway? And car insurance is one of those things. You got to have car insurance, whether you have one car or 10 cars. So why not see if you can pay a lot less for it right now? One quick 3-minute call, and you could save hundreds of dollars on your car insurance. We'll compare the leading car insurance companies and get you coverage that could save you up to 40% on your car insurance. Call now for a free quote. Call 800-603-9980. 800-603-9980. 800-603-9980. 800-603-9980. That's 800-603-9980.
Are you tired of commuting to a job that makes someone else rich? Working harder than ever, but getting nowhere? Do you hate spending hundreds of dollars every week on daycare? Having someone else raise your children? With our opportunities, you can start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss, work from home, and live a happier life. At Be the Boss Network, you'll find hundreds of work-from-home opportunities that you can literally start today and be earning money as soon as next week. Go to freedom112.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss. Get out of the rat race. Work from home. Go to freedom112.com right now and change your life today. That's freedom112.com. Go to freedom112.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You be the boss. Go to freedom112.com.
This is Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio, coming to you live via the internet, via rebroadcast on WRSDB, the Red State Talk Radio Network, or from the recordings at archives.patrickcomelately.us.
And thank you for sticking with me through the break. We're into the last segment of the show, so just a few more minutes. We were talking about this situation where Muslim Brotherhood delegates were allowed through the airport with minimal inspection, basically being handled as high-ranking visiting government officials and dignitaries. But before we continue with that, I do want to say hi to Rex in the chat room. So the chat room does work. Like I said, this is only the second time I've been at this site, so I guess my regular listeners are also getting used to the different way to come in. Thank you, Rex, for saying that the sound is good. Appreciate that, and appreciate your feedback in the chat room. I think one of the few disadvantages of this new site, it doesn't actually show how many live listeners are on right now. I have to wait to the end of the show to find out who was there. So that's a little different to Blog Talk. You could get a rough idea of who was listening. But if you are listening and you want to get into the chat room, let me know you're there. It's always nice to know I'm not just talking into a black hole. Okay, so why is this Muslim Brotherhood thing important? Well, a couple of things. Obviously, the fact that the Muslim Brotherhood is infiltrating our government is well known and has been complained about by many commentators. But another thing is also important. It turns out one member of the Brotherhood delegation, right, which came in April 2012 to meet with U.S. academic and senior government officials, one member had been linked to a child pornography investigation in the United States years earlier. under normal circumstances, he would have likely been subjected to extra scrutiny, might not even have been allowed into the country. Now, the records, the FOIA records, and I have seen the actual records, the notes that have come out, they don't address that issue particularly, but they do say that the people that came in reported their arrival at JFK went very smoothly. And this particular person traveled separately and came in through Minneapolis and apparently also went very smoothly without any complaints, according to the records. So here we are. We've got the Muslim Brotherhood group that has open connections with Hamas, which is a designated Palestinian terrorist group. And these people are just coming in. I mean, this is just totally unbelievable. Sometimes it leaves me speechless. I mean, just the fact that they're associated with Hamas should have mandated a secondary inspection and these people to be interviewed and not just waltz through the airport without any checks. A U.S. official familiar with immigration procedures told the IPT in 2012 that the exemption for the Brotherhood delegation was extraordinary. Well, there you are, folks. You see, can't trust this government one way or the other. And okay, well, let's see how we're doing for time. We've got a little bit more time for another topic, so let's go to the next topic. When will it ever stop? And some of you may know this. Like I said, some of the news I bring is well known, but if you don't, another key Obamacare provision for employers has been delayed. There was a line in the law that was supposed to ban employers from discriminating in favor of highly compensated individuals when it comes to health insurance eligibility or benefits. In other words, the fat cats on Wall Street are not allowed to have a different health care than the people who work for them. Right? Because what they want to do, yes, stop their top executives from getting cushy health benefits while the low-level employees are just given crap. The IRS is not going to enforce this provision in 2014, and remember, the IRS, not medical doctors or anything, they're the ones enforcing our healthcare provisions now, but they simply haven't got around to actually writing the regulations that employers must follow, even though the Obamacare law was signed almost 4 years ago. Think about that. Over 4 years ago, and they still don't know what they want to do there. Or could it be that these fat cats who pay so much to the Democrats' funds for re-election don't like the idea that they can't have their cushy health care benefits, and therefore they've delayed it for that reason? Who knows? Now, it was part of the original Obamacare law, and it was supposed to be provided 6 months after the law was passed. But 4 years now, and they still have not done it. Okay, folks, it's almost time for the end of the show, and I'm hoping that you will be able to join me next week. It's been a lot of fun, and hope to see you next week. Let's see, the music is about to start, folks. So this is it. Yes, coming to the end of the show, and to please Primo at Red State Talk Radio, we've got to be pretty close on the button here, but I think we're just about right, and so the music will be starting, folks. As I say normally, TTFN, ta-ta for now. Join me next week. Thanks for coming this week.
Thank you for listening to the show. I hope that you enjoyed tonight's topics. Whether you listened live, to a recording, or to a rebroadcast, I appreciate the time you share with me. We need to spread the message of liberty far and wide, so please tell your friends and family about the show. Thank you for helping to keep the beacon of hope burning. This is Stefan, your Patrick Come Lately, signing off. God bless America, and remember, L3, long live liberty.